Hello, a very good afternoon. Welcome to the news review. This morning, we go to the corridors of the National Democratic Congress. The NDC has renamed its national headquarters after its founder and the late former president, Jerry John Rawlings, in recognition of his enduring legacy and contribution to the parties and Ghana's democratic development.
The National Democratic Congress has officially renamed its national headquarters in honor of its founder, former President Jerry John Rawlings. The ceremony brought together party executives, supporters, family members, and government officials to celebrate the legacy of the late statesman who founded the NDC and played a significant role in shaping Ghana's political landscape. Addressing the gathering, President John Dramani Mahama paid tribute to Rawlings' leadership, vision, and commitment to the ideals of social justice, accountability, and national development. The renamed headquarters is expected to serve as a lasting symbol of Rawlings' contributions to the party and the nation, while inspiring future generations of party members to uphold the values he championed. The events formed part of activities aimed at preserving the memory and legacy of one of Ghana's most influential political figures.
Our party has been shaped by countless patriots who work tirelessly, often in difficult circumstances, to advance the cause of social justice, democratic governance, national development, and the empowerment of the ordinary citizen. So today we honor one of the most influential figures on that journey. The man we commemorate today, Jerry John Rawlings, was a man whose leadership, courage, and unwavering commitment to the ideals of probity, accountability, and social justice and national service have helped shape the political tradition from which our party emerged. Beyond being a former president of the Republic, Jerry Rawlings was a transformative figure whose vision inspired generations of Ghanaians and whose determination laid the foundations for the democratic stability and political freedoms that we now enjoy today as a nation. He was a leader who challenged the status quo when he believed the interests of ordinary people were being neglected. He devoted his life to empowering the disadvantaged, promoting accountability in public life, and building a nation founded on fairness, justice, and opportunity. And so naming this headquarters after him is therefore not only a tribute to his immense contribution to our party and our nation, but also a declaration that the values he championed, the values of integrity, patriotism, sacrifice, courage, discipline, and service to the people must continue to guide our actions as a party and a government. It serves as a constant reminder to everyone who enters this building that leadership is ultimately about service and that political power must always be exercised in the interests of the people.
Away from the renaming of the headquarters of the National Democratic Congress and the former President Jerry Rawlings, the President John Dramani Mahama has disclosed that the late former President Jerry John Rawlings turned down several proposals to have major national institutions and projects named after him. Mahama made a revelation as the National Democratic Congress officially renamed its national headquarters in honor of the party's founder.
President John Dramani Mahama says the late former president Jerry John Rawlings repeatedly declined efforts to name key national assets after him during his lifetime. Speaking at a ceremony to rename the National Democratic Congress headquarters after Rawlings, President Mahama revealed that the former leader rejected proposals to name the University for Development Studies and a floating production storage and offloading vessel in his honor. According to him, Rawlings believed national institutions should serve the collective interest of citizens rather than be used to celebrate individuals. The president said the decision to name the NDC headquarters after Rawlings was an appropriate recognition of his role in founding the party and shaping Ghana's democratic journey. Party executives, supporters, and members of the Rawlings family attended the event, which celebrated the legacy of the former president and his lasting impact on Ghana's political history.
This headquarters is more than an administrative facility. It is the operational heart of our party. It is the place where ideas are debated, policies are formulated, manifestos are written, strategies and decisions are made in pursuit of our mission to serve the people of Ghana. It is where generations of party faithful have gathered in moments of triumph and also gathered in moments of challenge. It is where our collective aspirations for a better Ghana or a reset agenda are translated into programs and action. By naming this headquarters after Jerry Rawlings, we're embedding our history in the very fabric of this institution and ensuring that future generations will never lose sight of the values and sacrifices that have brought us this far. The unveiling of this bat holds similar significance. Across the world, nations honor their statesmen and women with monuments and memorials that preserve their memory and inspire future generations. Such monuments are not erected merely to commemorate the individual. They are intended to remind us of the ideals and principles for which those individuals stood. And so as we unveil this bust today, we celebrate not only Jerry Rawlings' life, but also the values he embodied. We celebrate his courage in leadership. We celebrate his conviction in times of uncertainty. We celebrate his commitment to national service. And we celebrate an enduring belief that public office should be used to improve the lives of the ordinary citizens. And so may this monument serve as a source of inspiration to all who see it, and a reminder that every generation has a responsibility to contribute to the progress of our nation. Rawlings himself, if he were alive, would have been very uncomfortable with this ceremony we're holding, by which we seek to immortalize his name. And as the chairman said, he resisted all attempts to name significant monuments after him. He politely declined to have the University of Development Studies named after him, even though he had given up his World Food Prize Award as seed funding to start that university. He replied to my letter during my previous presidency, when I wrote to seek his permission to name the FPSO for the ENI Sankofa field after him. And he said, pass it on to President Kufuor. I prefer to have my name inscribed in the minds and hearts of men than on statues and monuments.
Away from that story, more than 2,000 residents have been displaced following severe and severe flooding in Samarabo in the western region, with homes submerged, properties destroyed, and several communities cut off by the rising floodwaters.
Over 2,000 people have been displaced after devastating floods swept through Samarabo and surrounding communities in the western region. The flooding, triggered by heavy rains, submerged homes, damaged farmlands, and destroyed personal belongings, leaving many residents stranded and in urgent need of assistance. Affected families have been forced to seek shelter in schools, churches, and other temporary accommodation centers as floodwaters continue to impact daily life. Local authorities and emergency response teams have been assessing the extent of the damage while providing support to displaced residents. Community leaders are appealing for urgent humanitarian assistance, including food, clean water, clothing, and medical supplies for affected families. Officials have also urged residents living in flood-prone areas to remain vigilant and heed safety advisories as efforts continue to support victims and restore normalcy to the affected communities.
Government has announced immediate revocation of all firearm licenses across the country, citing national security concerns and the need to strengthen the regulation of weapons possession and usage.
Government has revoked all firearm licenses nationwide with immediate effect as part of efforts to enhance public safety and tighten control over the possession of weapons. Authorities say the decision forms part of broader measures aimed at improving national security and ensuring strict compliance with existing firearms regulations. Individuals and entities holding firearm licenses are expected to comply with directives issued by the relevant security agencies, including any requirements for revalidation, registration, or surrender of weapons where applicable. Government has assured the public that further details on the implementation of the directive will be communicated in due course. Security agencies are expected to intensify monitoring and enforcement efforts to ensure full compliance. The announcement has sparked public discussion, with many awaiting clarification on the next steps for licensed firearm holders and the impact of the directive on security operations and private gun ownership.
The very affluent that come forward to register sidearms or firearms are now using them to commit suicide. In the last 2 months, we've seen increase in such individuals committing suicide with firearms that are registered. Because of that, from this afternoon, all permits that have been granted to any individual that you are holding a sidearm or firearm is hereby revoked. We are revoking that, and we are opening a window where everyone will have to come forward again to register or to re-register the gun, because we've changed the procedure. We've realized that there's a short gap in the registration procedure that we'll be using. Some will say that why not wait till December? In 6 months, we could still save a lot more life. We've seen that people with mental health had already gone through and have the sidearm. Now we are introducing mental health. Before we give you the sidearm, we have to be sure that you have the mental stability to hold the firearms. We've also realized that people who are on drugs are also holding the arms, and they are legitimate because it's been registered. Now you have to go through drug tests to be sure that you are not on drugs before you can hold sidearms.
From the Interior Ministry, we move straight to the local government, where the Minister for Local Government has called on Parliament to strengthen oversight mechanisms to ensure that funds allocated to persons with disability are disbursed efficiently and reach their intended beneficiaries.
The Minister for Local Government is urging Parliament to play a more active role in ensuring that disability funds are properly managed and delivered to those who need them most. According to the Minister, resources earmarked for persons with disabilities must be used transparently and effectively to improve livelihoods and promote inclusion. He emphasized that robust oversight and accountability are essential to preventing delays, mismanagement, or diversion of funds. The minister noted that disability support programs are critical to empowering vulnerable groups and enhancing their participation in national development. He therefore called on lawmakers to work closely with local authorities and relevant institutions to monitor the utilization of disability funds and ensure beneficiaries receive the support intended for them. The appeal comes amid ongoing discussions on social protection and the need to improve access to essential services and opportunities for persons with disabilities across the country.
But Mr. Speaker, one distinguishing feature about the NDC stands clear. In 2006, when the Persons with Disability Act was passed by the then former President J.A. Kufuor. It was not until in 2009 that when His Excellency, the late President John Evans Atta Mills, assumed the high office, that the active implementation began. And that is where 1% of the persons with disability, DACF, was earmarked for persons with disability. It started in 2009 by the late Professor Atta Mills. Mr. Speaker, the one interesting thing is that this very year, the NDC has come back again and we are adding, increasing the 1%, which was increased to 3%, to 5%. So the year 2025, the DACF money allocated for persons with disability was 263 million. And that was 3% of the 7.5 billion. Mr. Speaker, in 2026, an amount of 438 million has been earmarked for persons with disability. And that amount to 438 million Ghana cedis. Mr. Speaker, beyond this, in the GET Fund formula, an amount of 100 million Ghana cedis was also earmarked for persons with disability. Beyond that, Mr. Speaker, there's free tertiary fee and accommodation, everything being given to persons with disability. But Mr. Speaker, what persons with disability want from Parliament is that even though Parliament thought of them, His Excellency the President thought of them, and money was earmarked for them, the disbursement of the money that has been approved by formula, the formula that has been approved by Parliament, for monies to be disbursed to persons with disability, the Speaker, when you go to the MMDAs, it is not being done religiously. And that's why, Mr. Speaker, for this meeting, you have not been seeing me. And that's why when I was starting, I said, this is the very first time that my virginity is being broken for this meeting. It is not unique of me. I used always to be sitting here. But for this particular time, you need to put fire on the person's social welfare officers. Mr. Speaker, some metropolitan and district finance officers are not religiously doing full disclosure to the social welfare officers to know how much money that Parliament has approved and how much money that the President is giving to be given to persons with disability. On this note, Mr. Speaker, I want to entreat every member of Parliament in your district to take special interest in that. And I will call the administrator for District Assembly Common Fund. When the money is sent to the district, give an advice to the MP representing them, so that the MP will be aware of how much money has been allocated to persons with disability in his district. Mr. Speaker, you go, some social welfare officers go and buy some quantity of television sets, refrigerators, that I'm coming to do distribution. Mr. Speaker, that is not it. You go and you ask them, where is the album? How many persons with disability do you have here? As a committee for local government, Mr. Speaker, you remember in the 8th Parliament, we visited about 154 districts, and we wanted to see with Honorable Patricia Apiaje. In fact, she was our chairman when we embarked upon that exercise. But Mr. Speaker, you could see that that money is not religiously being disbursed. So if members of Parliament do not take special interest to go to your district and ask how much money was given to the persons with disability in Man district and how much has been disbursed to them. Mr. Speaker, on a good day like this, International Day of Persons with Disability, this day would have been an opportune time that every person with disability, no matter ethnic, no matter the religion, the ethnic, the party, the everything, today, this is the day that the nation Ghana should have been putting a smile on everybody's face.
Still on the floor of Parliament, the minority in Parliament is criticizing a written meeting conveyed by the presidency, urging that all 276 members of Parliament should have been invited. The caucus says excluding some lawmakers undermines inclusivity and national consensus on issues of governance and development.
The minority caucus in Parliament has expressed dissatisfaction over a meeting organized by the presidency, insisting that all 276 members of Parliament should have been invited. According to the caucus, decisions and discussions on matters of national importance must involve the full representation of the people's elected leaders. The minority argues that limiting participation to selected MPs risks creating divisions and weakens efforts to build broad-based consensus. The caucus is therefore calling on the presidency to ensure greater inclusivity in future engagements, stressing that every member of parliament has a mandate to represent the interests and concerns of their constituents. The presidency is yet to officially respond to the concerns raised by the minority.
Now we head straight to the ECOWAS court, where the Court of Justice has dismissed a suit filed by the suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Araba Esaba Tekono against the Republic of Ghana. The court rules that the application did not meet the necessary conditions for the relief sought, and marking a significant development in legal challenge surrounding the proceedings initiated against the embattled jurists.
The ECOWAS Court of Justice has dismissed a case brought by suspended Chief Justice Gertrude Tekono against the Republic of Ghana. The suit sought intervention from the regional court over ongoing proceedings linked to petitions for her removal from office. However, the court ruled against the application, effectively declining to grant the reliefs requested by the suspended Chief Justice. The ruling represents a major setback in Tekono's efforts to challenge the process through the regional judicial body. The case has attracted significant public and legal interest, with debates continuing over constitutional procedures, judicial independence, and due process in the handling of petitions against senior members of Ghana's judiciary. Meanwhile, proceedings relating to the matter are expected to continue under Ghana's constitutional framework as stakeholders await the next phase of developments.
Now, from the court of the ECOWAS, we move to the presidency, where the President John Dramani Mahama has paid a grooming tribute to the veteran diplomat and statesman Victor Gbeho, describing him as an exemplary public servant whose contribution to Ghana, African, and international diplomacy have left an enduring legacy.
President John Dramani Mahama has paid tribute to veteran Ghanaian diplomat Ambassador Victor Gbeho, praising his decades of dedicated service to the nation and the international community. The president described Ambassador Gbeho as a distinguished statesman whose commitment to diplomacy, peace, and regional cooperation earned Ghana global respect and recognition. Ambassador Gbeho has held several high-profile positions throughout his career, including serving as Ghana's Minister for Foreign Affairs and Regional Integration and as President of the ECOWAS Commission. President Mahama noted that Ambassador Gbeho's leadership, wisdom, and dedication to public service continue to inspire a new generation of diplomats and public officials across the continent. The tribute comes as many reflect on Ambassador Gbeho's remarkable contributions to strengthening regional integration, promoting democratic governance, and advancing Ghana's foreign policy objectives.
Moving on from that story you saw live on the review, we can review live and direct from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Greater Estate. Now to the Gender Ministry, where the Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Na Momolate, says government's school feeding program is being strengthened with a renewed focus on providing nutritious meals to improve the health, learning outcomes, and overall well-being of people across the country.
The Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Na Momolate, has reaffirmed government's commitment to improving the nutritional quality of meals served under the Ghana School Feeding Program. According to the minister, the program is not only aimed at increasing school enrollment and attendance, but also ensuring that pupils receive balanced and nutritious meals that support their growth and academic performance. She noted that efforts are underway to enhance meal standards, promote healthy eating habits, and ensure that children in beneficiary schools receive the nutrients needed for effective learning and development. The minister added that improved nutrition remains a key pillar of the program, as government seeks to address malnutrition while supporting educational outcomes among school-aged children. The school feeding program continues to play a critical role in promoting access to education, reducing hunger among pupils, and improving the welfare of children, particularly in vulnerable communities across the country.
Indeed, it comes with additional costs, but not one we cannot manage within the budget. So you realize that one of the first things that we did was to increase the amount of money. Minimal as it is, that is 0.50 pesos. Minimal as it is, it goes a long way to improve and relieve the caterers. One of the other things that we are also we've also done, and we are hoping that it will go a long way to relieve the caterers, is to take out that tax component that is in the payment of the caterers, so that they will have a bit more relief in terms of the money they receive and then how they prepare the nutritious meals and then feed the children. So yes, there's cost implication anytime quality arises. And sometimes people ask about the quantity, but we focus more on the quality than the quantity as the situation is. As we get more financial clearance, we hope to also focus both on the quality and then the quantity as well. The amount used to be 1 cedi 50 pesos. Now it's been increased from 1 cedi 50 pesos to 2 cedis. And that one, I stated that 50 pesos increase. And I also stated that the tax component is being taken off, so that they can have the full amount in order to be able to serve our children.
And that was the Sector Minister for Gender, Children and Social Protection, Dr. Agnes Momolate. Ghana Education Reforms Agenda is gathering renewed momentum as Parliament undertakes a comprehensive review of sector performance, with policymakers assessing progress, challenges and funding gaps across the educational system.
Ghana's education sector is once again in the spotlight as Parliament intensifies its review of performance indicators under ongoing education reforms. Lawmakers are examining key areas including access to quality education, infrastructure development, teacher deployment, and learning outcomes across basic, secondary, and tertiary levels. The review forms part of efforts to strengthen accountability and ensure that investment in the education sector translate into measurable improvements in students' performance and school conditions. Stakeholders in the sector have consistently raised concerns about overcrowding in schools, inadequate teaching materials, and uneven distribution of resources, especially in rural communities. Parliament is expected to engage the Ministry of Education and related agencies in the coming days to outline progress made and address persistent challenges affecting the sector.
In another story, the Deputy Director General of the National Commission on Narcotic Control has raised alarm of a growing trend of drug peddling in basic and secondary schools, warning the situation poses a serious threat to student welfare and national development.
The Deputy Director General of the National Commission of Narcotic Control, NACOC, has expressed concern over the rising cases of drug peddling in schools across the country. According to the Commission, some students are increasingly being exposed to illicit substances within school environments. A development officials say is undermining discipline, academic performance, and overall student well-being. NACOC is cautioning school authorities, parents, and community leaders to strengthen monitoring and preventive measures as traffickers reportedly target young people as entry points for the drug trade. The Commission is also calling for intensified education campaigns in schools to help students resist peer pressure and avoid involvement in substance abuse. Authorities say investigations and collaboration with security agencies are ongoing to clamp down on networks exploiting school environments.
This very important program has been organized by our Director General, who is indeed willing and fighting this. The drug abuse is becoming problematic, and that it is spreading. And we have foreseen that if we don't do anything about it, the future will be full of we won't have a brighter future. So what we do is usually to conduct education for the schools. In fact, we've gone the length and breadth of our West region. Almost there's no secondary school that doesn't know us. Yeah. So we keep giving education. Education, sometimes we go there, or sometimes through the radios. Yeah, and other activities, just like I said.
Now we move straight to the Accra High Court, where the Accra High Court has sentenced the editor of Herald newspaper, Larry Dogbe, to a custodial term for contempt of court after finding him guilty of actions that allegedly brought the authority of the court into disrepute.
The Accra High Court has jailed the editor of Herald newspaper, Larry Dogbe, for contempt of court. The court found him guilty of conduct considered to have undermined the authority and dignity of the judiciary. Details of the ruling indicate that the decision follows proceedings in which the journalist was cited for contempt after actions deemed inappropriate within the context of ongoing legal processes. The judge ruled that the offense warranted a custodial sentence, stressing the importance of respecting court procedures and maintaining the integrity of the justice system. Court officials say the ruling serves as a reminder of the consequences of contemptuous conduct in the administration of justice.
Away from the High Court, the President John Dramani Mahama says Ghana possesses all the resources, talent, and potential needed to achieve sustainable development. He has called on Ghanaians to embrace unity, discipline, hard work, stressing that the country's success depends on how well its people harness the strengths.
President John Dramani Mahama says Ghana has everything it needs to succeed as a nation. According to the president, the country is richly endowed with natural resources, a youthful population, and the human capital required to drive economic transformation. He urged Ghanaians to remain united and committed to national development, emphasizing that the country's future depends not only on government policies, but also on the collective efforts of every citizen. President Mahama said with determination, accountability, and responsible leadership, Ghana can overcome its challenges and build a more prosperous future for generations to come.
I believe profoundly that Ghana possesses all the ingredients necessary for success. We have resilient people, we have a vibrant civil society, we have a dynamic private sector, we have capable institutions, and we have an enduring democratic tradition. What we require now is greater collaboration, greater trust, and a sense of shared national purpose.
Meanwhile, the president has affirmed the critical role of civil society organizations in Ghana's national development, describing them as indispensable partners in promoting good governance, transparency, and inclusive growth.
President John Dramani Mahama has pledged to strengthen collaboration between government and civil society organizations to advance Ghana's development agenda. The president said civil society plays a vital role in promoting accountability, protecting democratic values, and ensuring that the voices of citizens are reflected in national decision-making. He emphasized that governments will continue to engage non-state actors in shaping policies and monitoring development outcomes, stressing that sustainable national transformation can only be achieved through strong partnerships between government, civil society, and the private sector. President Mahama reiterated his administration's commitment to openness, inclusiveness, and citizen participation as key pillars of effective governance.
Civil society remains one of the most important pillars of our democracy. And throughout our nation's history, civil society organizations have served as advocates for vulnerable populations, defenders of human rights, champions of transparency and accountability, providers of social services, and as development partners. And so I've widened the description already, our development partners. Many of Ghana's democratic gains have been achieved through constructive engagement of civic actors. Civil society has helped shape public discourse, inform policy choices, strengthen accountability mechanisms, and amplified the voices of communities that might otherwise have gone unheard. The role of civil society has become even more important during periods of economic transition and institutional reform. As government pursues ambitious programs for economic transformation, governance reform, healthcare delivery, youth employment, education, social protection, climate resilience, and constitutional renewal, we require the active participation of an informed, vibrant, and constructive civic sector. We welcome scrutiny, we welcome dialogue, and above all, we welcome partnership. This government does not regard civil society as an adversary. We regard civil society as a strategic partner in nation building.
Moving on, now we go to the Ghana Education Services proposing a yellow and red card disciplinary system for senior high schools as part of efforts to address growing cases of student indiscipline and promote responsible behavior on campuses.
The Ghana Education Service is considering the introduction of a yellow and red card system in senior high schools to improve discipline among students. Under the proposal, students who engage in minor acts of misconduct could receive a yellow card as a formal warning, while repeated or serious offences may attract a red card, leading to stricter disciplinary measures in line with school regulations. Education authorities say the initiative is designed to encourage good behavior, reduce violence and misconduct, and create a safer, more conducive learning environment. The proposal is expected to be discussed further with education stakeholders before any nationwide implementation.
And from the corridors of the Ghana Education Service with discipline on our campuses, we bring you to the end of the major top stories making headway on local front throughout the week. We're going for a break. When we come back, our attention will turn to the business segment on the news review. Stay with us. Welcome back from the break. You're still live on the news review segments. Are coming to you from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate, Nwa Adogono. This is MBN TV, your mega broadcasting network of Alpha Multimedia. On the business front, the government has once again fallen short of its treasury bill auction target, mixing 5.27 billion Ghana cedis fundraising goal despite offering higher interest rates to attract investors, raising fresh concerns about market appetite for short-term government securities.
Government has met its treasury bill target for another consecutive auction, despite an increase in interest rates aimed at attracting investors. The latest auction sought to raise 5.27 billion Ghana cedis through the insurance of short-term debit instruments, including 91-day, 182-day, and 364-day treasury bills. However, investor demand fell below expectations, resulting in a shortfall against the government's target. Market analysts say the outcome reflects continued caution among investors who are closely monitoring economic conditions, inflation trends, and development in Ghana's fiscal management program. The increase in yields was expected to boost investor participation, but the auction results suggest that higher rates alone may not be sufficient to drive demand. Economists note that sustained under-subscription on Treasury bill auction could have implementations for government short-term financing strategy, although authorities remain confident in meeting the country's funding requirements through a mix of domestic and external financing resources. The development comes as government continues efforts to strengthen fiscal stability and sustain confidence in the economy.
Still with Ghana's economy, the economy recorded a strong 6.4% growth in the first quarter of the year. Economists caution that emerging domestic and global challenges could slow momentum in the months ahead.
Ghana's economy expanded by 6.4% in the first quarter, reflecting strong performances in key sectors and signaling continued recovery and resilience. However, analysts warn that the impressive growth figures may mask underlying risks that could moderate economic activities in the coming quarters. Concerns include global economic uncertainties, fluctuating commodity prices, inflationary prices, and potential fiscal challenges. Economists say sustaining growth will require prudent economic management, increased investment, and policies that support private sector expansion and job creation. While the latest figures provide optimism about the country's economic trajectory, experts caution against complacency, emphasizing the need for structural reforms to ensure long-term and inclusive growth. Government officials maintain that ongoing economic measures are designed to strengthen sustainability, boost investor confidence, and safeguard the gains recorded so far. The growth data comes as stakeholders continue to assess the outlook for the economy amid evolving domestic and international economic conditions.
Still talking about Ghana's economy, consumers continue to face high ginger prices over the next 2 years due to supply constraint, production challenges, and market dynamics in agriculture, experts has cautioned.
Food systems and agricultural experts have warned that ginger prices are likely to remain elevated for up to 2 years, citing persistent supply shortages and challenges within the production chain. According to experts, factors such as reduced cultivation, climate variability, and rising demand have contributed to the sustained increase in prices on both local and export markets. He explained that ginger production cycles and the time required to scale up farming make it difficult for prices to stabilize in the short term. The expert further noted that unless significant investment is made to improve farming practices, irrigation, and storage system, consumers will continue to feel the impact of high prices. Traders and consumers have already reported increased costs in recent months, affecting households and food-related businesses that rely heavily on ginger as a key ingredient. The warning adds to broader concerns about food prices sustainability and agricultural productivity in the country.
From the agribusiness, we move to the banking story, where the Bank of Ghana has warned individuals and businesses that issue dupe checks could face a 3-year ban from accessing checkbooks and credit facilities as part of measures to strengthen financial discipline and confidence in the banking system.
The Bank of Ghana has issued a strong warning to customers and businesses over the insurance of that checks, reminding the public that offenders risk severe sanctions under existing banking regulations. According to the central bank, persons whose checks are dishonored due to insufficient funds may be reported and subsequently banned from accessing checkbooks and credit facilities for up to 3 years. The bank says the measure is intended to promote responsible financial practices, protect businesses from financial losses, and enhance trust in check transactions across the country. Financial institutions have also been directed to comply strictly with reporting requirements and ensure that sanctions are enforced against habitual offenders. The Bank of Ghana is therefore urging account holders to maintain adequate funds before issuing checks and also adhere to sound financial management practices.
From banking to the extractive sector, where Ghana has increased crude oil production to 28,000 barrels per day under a new operational turnaround strategy aimed at revitalizing the country's petroleum sector and improving energy security.
Ghana's oil sector is recording renewed growth, with crude oil production reaching 28,000 barrels per day under a new turnaround strategy. The initiative is designed to improve operational efficiency, increase output, and minimize returns from country's petroleum resources.
Government says the production gains reflect ongoing efforts to revive the energy sector, attract investment, and strengthen Ghana's position as a competitive oil-producing nation. Officials believe the improved output will support economic growth, boost government revenue, and contribute to the country's long-term energy and development goals.
And so for those of you who think that it's just figures, we are talking of real employment and real jobs for the people of Ghana. And you can also see when it comes to the currency stability, and more importantly, following the developments at the world stage, it is obvious that you are also going to have a positive impact at the pumps. And so on behalf of the President, I want to congratulate the staff, management, board of the Sontia Refinery for doing this marvelous job. It shows that South-South cooperation can lead to economic development and the mutual benefits for China and Ghana's relationship. And I thank you, Ambassador, for your hard work and what you are doing for us. Before His Excellency assumed office, our own refinery was down. From 2021, the refinery had been idling. It got to a stage where the then government decided that they would give it out for 22 million. When we assumed office, Mr. President said, no, turn this refinery around. Today, we are producing about 28,000 barrels from our own refinery. And when you put Central, and when Central completes their work, and Tema Oil Refinery peaks based on the work we are doing, not only are we going to be self-sufficient, we are going to export the excess that we produce here in this country. But to do that, we must increase oil production. And I'm happy to note that following 6 years of continuous oil decline when it comes to production, this year we are turning it around and we are going to increase our own oil production.
And that was the voice of the Minister for Energy, John Abu Jinapor. And that's how we wrap up the news review on the business sector. We're going for a break. When we come back, our attention will be on the international front, and we'll review that as well. Now to the international front, our first destination is Uganda, where the Ugandan Law Society says a former Kenyan justice minister and a prominent human rights lawyer, Martha Karua, was denied entry into Uganda at the Entebbe International Airport, an incident that has sparked concerns among legal and regional advocacy groups.
The Uganda Law Society has reported that former Kenyan Justice Minister and human rights lawyer Martha Karua was blocked from entering Uganda upon arrival at Entebbe International Airport. According to the lawyer's body, Karua had traveled to Uganda in connection with legal representation linked to opposition figures, but was denied entry by immigration authorities and instructed to return to Kenya. The Law Society says the incident raises concerns about cross-border legal practice within the East African community and the rights of advocates to represent clients in regional courts. Karua, a former Kenyan justice minister and veteran opposition figure, has previously been involved in high-profile human rights and political cases across the region. Authorities in Uganda have not yet publicly provided detailed reasons for their decision, while the matter continues to draw attention from legal and diplomatic circles. The development comes amid ongoing debates about legal cooperation, professional mobility, and political tensions within the East African legal space.
And from the tensions in Uganda, we move to Zambia, where the family of Zambia's late former president has secured a key court ruling in an ongoing dispute over the final resting place of his body, intensifying sensitive legal and public debate over state versus family burial rights.
The family of Zambia's late former president has won the latest round in a legal battle concerning what should be done with his body following a court ruling in their favor. The dispute, which has drawn significant national attention, centers on disagreements between state authorities and the family over burial arrangements and final resting rights. In its ruling, the court sided with the family's position, granting them greater authority in determining burial plans. Tough further legal or administrative steps may still follow, depending on state response. The case has reignited public discussion in Zambia about how former heads of state should be handled after death, particularly in situations where political and family interests intersect. Observers say the ruling is likely to have broader implications for state protocol, constitutional interpretation, and the handling of high-profile state funerals in the future. Authorities have not yet indicated whether they will challenge the decision or proceed in accordance with the court's directive.
Now, our next destination is Kenya, where the authorities have announced plans to charge several students with murder following the deadly school fire that claimed lives and left many others injured, reigniting concerns about safety and discipline in educational institutions.
Kenyan prosecutors are preparing to charge a number of students with murder in connection with a devastating school fire that resulted in multiple deaths. Investigators believe the blaze, which tore through a dormitory, may have been deliberately started, prompting authorities to pursue criminal charges against those suspected to be involved. The tragedy shocked the nation and sparked widespread mourning as families and communities grappled with the loss of young lives. Officials say extensive investigations were conducted to determine the cause of the fire and identify those responsible. The case has renewed calls for stronger safety measures in schools, improved supervision of students, and stricter enforcement of regulations governing boarding facilities. Legal proceedings are expected to begin in the coming weeks as authorities seek accountability for one of the country's deadliest school fire incidents.
And we move away from Kenya, we go to Latin America, where at least 164 people have been killed and more than 970 injured after two powerful earthquakes struck Venezuela, triggering widespread destruction and frantic rescue operations in the capital Caracas and surrounding areas.
Rescue teams in Venezuela are racing against time to find survivors trapped beneath collapsed buildings after two powerful earthquakes devastated parts of the country. Authorities say at least 164 people have been confirmed dead, while hundreds more have been injured following the back-to-back quakes, measuring 7.22 and 7.5 in magnitude. The earthquakes, among the strongest to hit Venezuela in more than a century, caused extensive damage to homes, businesses, transport infrastructure, and public facilities, particularly in Caracas and the coastal state of La Guaira. Emergency workers assisted by international rescue teams are combing through the rubble in search of survivors as aftershocks continue to rattle affected communities. The government has declared a state of emergency, while several countries and humanitarian organizations have pledged support for ongoing relief and recovery efforts. Officials warn the death toll could rise further as rescuers gain access to heavily damaged areas and continue searching collapsed structures.
Meanwhile, international rescue teams have arrived in Venezuela to assist search and recovery efforts after a series of powerful earthquakes claimed at least 235 lives, left hundreds injured as authorities continue searching for survivors trapped beneath the collapsed buildings.
International search and rescue teams have joined emergency operations in Venezuela following devastating earthquakes that have killed at least 235 people. Rescuers from several countries are working alongside Venezuelan emergency services to locate survivors trapped under collapsed homes and damaged buildings. The earthquakes caused widespread destruction to infrastructure, disrupting electricity, communications, and transportation in several affected communities. Authorities say hundreds of people have been injured, while thousands have been displaced from their homes. Relief agencies are providing food, medical supplies, temporary shelter, and other humanitarian assistance to those affected. Emergency officials have warned residents to remain alert for possible aftershocks as search and rescue operations continue.
And with us, our story from Venezuela, we come to the end of this weekend's news review live and direct from our studios on the 10th Avenue Extension, Great Estate. This is MBN TV. I want to say a big thank you for joining us. For more of the review and other stories, go to MBN 360. My name is El Samuels. Together with my production team and entire, we say have a good afternoon and keep watching MBN. Enjoy your weekend.